So I've had eye floaters basically my entire life, and I figured I would make a video kind of talking about not how to cure them, but how to deal with them, right? I was online talking to people about their floaters at one point, and one guy in particular stuck out to me as an interesting case. He said he had around 100 little black ones in each eye, and it made reading during the day in the sunlight impossible. Okay, and I thought, wow, that sucks, man. You know, like that's a tough case to be in. You got that many floaters. But I was thinking about it, you know, and this isn't to discredit this guy, but I think to a large extent, what this guy is dealing with is mental. That's a mental thing. Okay, and I think that, like, I suffered with floaters for a while. Okay, now I don't suffer from floaters, but I'm pretty sure I have the same amount of floaters. I'm pretty sure the floaters haven't gone anywhere. Okay, one of the main issues with floaters is that, especially if they're a new phenomenon to you. Like my aunt, for example, I think she just started getting floaters. She has a floater, and she's so tripped out by it because she's over 60. She's so tripped out by it that when it flies, she literally thinks an object just flew by her, you know. So she has not in any way trained herself to ignore them. It's a new phenomenon. Pretty crazy to be at that age and just now be getting floaters. I'm 33 now, and I've been dealing with floaters for about 10 years. Like big ones, big brown ones, right? And it's a little bit stressful, you know. It can be kind of stressful, largely because I think that, like, it's kind of like having dental problems too. I don't know who said it. I think it was Bukowski or something. He said something about how, like, your teeth are like the reminder of your mortality. And, you know, you have your teeth start falling out. That's just a reminder. You only have so many teeth. You're not getting any more teeth. You only have so many years. You only have so much life to live, you know. And I think the floaters are kind of are like that as well, where it's like your eyes are, to a large extent, not failing, but they're becoming suboptimal. Okay, they're becoming suboptimal. You're probably not going to go blind, but your eyes are not, you know, you ain't got your, you know, 13, 14-year-old self's eyes. Nice, pristine models, you know. They've got some age on it. They got some wear and tear. And it's one of those things where you just got to hope that, like, the eyes outlive you, you know. That's the fear, is that your eyes are going to fail you before your heart does, you know. But so some of it revolves around anxiety about death. That's part of it. There's also annoyance, right? And then, like, quality of life. Like, my dad had some sort of, like, dangling thing in his eye, where he would have to, like, dodge it. He would have to move it around to even see. You know, man, that's some quality of life disruption that, like, I'm glad I don't have to deal with. Hope I never have to deal with. I think a lot of stuff like that comes down to, like, do you smoke? Do you drink? You know, as if you're doing those things on a regular basis, you're kind of throwing sugar in your own gas tank, and things are going to kind of, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a little kind of an unnecessary risk. You know, a lot of the floater issues that I had, the floaters kind of, I feel like they really kind of started for me when I was vaping. I mean, and, like, vaping back when I was doing it was a lot different, because I was vaping like 3 milligram juice out of one of those big sub-ohm vapes. But I mean, you know, the people these days, they got 50 milligram juice in those Elf bars. Anyway, but I feel like it kind of started with vaping. Like, it really kind of, and because I was driving a lot too. And I think that when you drive a lot, the floaters become more obvious. And here's the biggest way that I come across floaters. I look down at the speedometer, then I look up back at the road. Look, just one just kind of, a big long brown one, just kind of, it's kind of dim, kind of faded. It wasn't very, like, dark or defined, but it started to rise when I did that. That's a lot better than it used to be. It used to be like brown confetti was being thrown in the air whenever I would do that. And I look down, look back up, or look side to side, you know. And that can be frustrating. It can be frustrating because you don't want things in your vision But this guy that had the like 100 per eye, right? I don't necessarily think that is like, I don't think that he was some strange case where he just had a ton of floaters. I think if I was to stare at the sky, or a white piece of paper, for example, if I was to stare at a white piece of paper and really like analyze the amount of noise and disruption going on in my vision, I would be like, yeah, per eye, I've probably got 100 black floaters, right? And then what you do once you realize that is that you just want it gone, right? And now it just becomes something that like you focus on and you're aware of, and your mind is, the funny thing about the mind, I did a research paper about cigarette smoking, and it kind of changed the way, I know the brain wires itself, yada, 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 but to like, think about like the connections that the brain creates. It's like, it kind of creates these like shortcuts. And these, so here's a thought, if that's a common thought, okay, let's make the roadway really thick to that, right? Cigarette smoking is a big one, because the reason that cigarette smoking is so addictive, in my opinion, from what I can tell from the research I did, is because it makes it to where the solution to your problems is always the cigarette. Like, I need a cigarette becomes such a common thought for you that the roadway to I need a cigarette is super thick, and it's a short trip, right? What it does is it localizes the connections in your brain to where it doesn't take long, meandering paths to complicated or, problem solving. The answer to your problem is always light up a cigarette. At the very least, we got to make sure that's taken care of before we can start doing anything else as far as making other connections and other problem solving, right? And what I'm saying though is that like the thought of the floaters again, the floaters again, the floaters again. You build up that path in your brain, you build up that roadway in your brain. That's going to be a common thought. Whereas I was just thinking before I made this video, I probably haven't actually either thought about my floaters or focused or even looked at my floaters in at least a month. And probably a month where I was like, oh yeah, floaters, yeah, that's a thing. And just a bunch flew up just now, just because I'm talking about it, I'm thinking about it. But it's like, because I just looked up, I changed my eye direction, and a few of them went up, but I'm not thinking about it, right? And I think that's the first, that's the first step, is like realizing you have a problem. Just realizing that like you can have floaters and have it not be a disruption in your life, and have it not bring down the quality of your life, and have it not be something that like causes you distress, because now you're stressing, now your cortisol is being released because you got these floaters, and I just wish I'm sure you could go to the doctor and have them. I think my dad had this done because he had such severe problems. I think they flushed his eyes out and put new fluid back. And hey, that'd be nice. I'd love to get me a nice fluid change in my eyes, get them all cleaned out, But it's like, first of all, you're gonna deflate your own eye and wash it. Like, bro, like that sounds risky, for what is essentially a slight annoyance. Now, if you have like with what my dad was dealing with, with essentially, I think it was like a cataract issue. I don't know what was going on. It sounded bizarre, but if you're freaking out about every little imperfection in your eyes and in your vision, then you're not even going to be able to gauge properly whether or not you have like a detached retina or something, So you have to be able to like figure out your baseline and be comfortable with your baseline. So one of the things is to stop looking at them, stop acknowledging them, and look past them. Okay, so that's the one thing that really that's one of the ways I was really able to train myself to stop noticing and suffering from having floaters, is looking past them. I just had one just float up right now. It's probably just because I'm talking about it that it's even a thing. Because usually what happens is one floats up and you can shake your eye and like move it away. Just okay, so I've got long hair, what's it in my face? See how I did that? It's in my face. You know what I mean? Like, just flip it out of the way. That's how, and I don't even think about it. I'm not like, oh gosh, you know, I probably should be like, oh, my hair's too long. I should get hair. I need to go to the practitioner, to the hair shortening practitioner. And, I need to get this taken care of. I need to get this medical issue taken care of. That's probably what I should be thinking. But instead, gets in my face, flip it out. And that's how you need to think about it. Like, you got a floater, flick it out. It's that same automatic, non-thinking, involuntary movement. Where instead of building the pathway in your brain that's like, floaters, what is that one? Look at that one. Oh my God. Look at the size of that one. Instead of that, flick. You can flick your eye to the side. Now it's out of the way. Just a quick flick. You know, and one thing you can do, and I'm pretty good at this. I'm not going to do it because I'm driving. Maybe I could like do it later. I don't know. But there's if you can move your eye back and forth pretty quick, and that think of it like shaking up a bottle with some like crud in it, right? You dissolve it, and I think you can break up a little bit of the floater stuff. You're not going to get rid of it all. It's not all gonna like dissolve down to the single cells and not be a problem. It's gonna clump together. It's just a thing that's gonna happen. You're getting old, okay? Let's just acknowledge it. You're aging. Your eyes are collecting a bunch of goop and coagulating all this crap. You're getting old, and one day you're gonna die, okay? Let's just acknowledge that and get over it, you know? But one thing you can do is you can shake your eyes. Did you see it? I guess I can do it. I mean, I've done it so many times driving. But it's just like shake them a little bit. Just get it all shaken up, you know. Maybe just get used to that rapid eye movement side to side. That way, like I said, when you look down your speedometer, look back up, you can just like twitch it over to the side, and it'll fly over there. Now, and just keep looking back. Don't follow it. That's the worst thing you can do. That's the worst thing you can do, is watch a floater in its path. No, because now you've put it in the middle of your sight line. And no, the middle of your sight line needs to be clear. It needs to be floater free at all time. And the exercise that I've done, because one time I remember I was driving, and it was like, it's, you know, the kind of day like today, kind of overcast. You know, sometimes there's certain days where it's almost like the light gets behind the floater, and it's really annoying. But I was having a really tough time one day, probably about a year or two ago. I was like really getting frustrated. I don't know, I was just hyper aware of the floaters for a minute, or for a while. I don't know what was going on. But the point is that I viewed my vision as like, you've seen a cone, right? So the big part of the cone's here, and there was a pinpoint of vision out in front of me, and it's like I would go full tunnel vision. That was what I did. I went full tunnel vision. I said, okay, brain, I only want you paying attention to this one little spotlight, this one pinpoint of vision. I don't want you looking, because this is where all the floaters are. They're all out here. Quit paying attention to all that. I don't need to know that there's a bunch of crap happening in the peripherals of my vision. I don't need any of that. What I need is to look straight ahead, laser focused on what's right in front of me. And if a floater enters that area, I'll twitch my eyes to the side, brush it out just like I would with my hair. You know, oh, here's my face. Twitch it out of my face. Don't even think about it, you know. Or this, you know, see this? That's kind of become, because twitching your hair out of your face will cause neck problems. So I try not to, you know, that. And did I think about that? No, I'm not like, my hair. If I did, I would have to get a haircut. I would just be like, this hair, it's in my face, You know, I don't even think about it. You know, I should probably. Like before this video, I'm looking at my hair like, is my hair even like okay to be in a video? I think it's fine. I think it's okay today. But you know, yeah, what was I saying? So anyway, the pinpoint of vision is so you focus only on what's in that, and as a result of doing that, you move your eyes all over the place. So now you're scanning with your little pinpoint vision, and keep your eyes moving. That's another thing. Like, learn to just, because one of the things, here's one of my hypotheses about this iFloater situation, okay? And why I think driving is why I think that when I'm driving it comes up the most is because when you're driving, and you probably shouldn't do this, technically your eyes are supposed to be, you're supposed to be checking your mirrors, you know, doing all, but guess what? When you're on I-40 between Amarillo and Albuquerque, you're not gonna, you're just gonna keep your eyes still, you're gonna look at there, and you're gonna be pretty stationary. You're gonna have quite a while of not moving your eyes at all. And one of the things I think that happens, especially nowadays, because so much of our life is spent staring straight ahead at a screen, and there's not a lot of eye movement required, right? There's not big sweeping looks of side to side. If you were a hunter, or if you're doing a bunch of stuff outside where there's a big view and big perspective that you have to take in, then you're possibly going to have to sweep your eyes around. And I think that by sweeping your eyes around more in your life, that's going to keep stuff from coagulating. But so many of us spend so much of our time not sweeping our eyes around, or just keeping them in stationary. And I think that like I said, when we look speedometer and when we start doing this stuff, that's when stuff breaks free, your stuff starts gets shaken up when it's not used to being shaken up. And so I don't know, that might be, but I think that especially nowadays with the way that you can just stare at a phone and it's all right there in the middle of your vision, so you don't have to move your eyes for hours. If you decide to doom scroll, you could spend an entire day, if that's all you wanted to do, you could spend an entire day barely moving your eyes at all, and I think that there's something to that. I think that is resulting sometimes in the goop not getting shaken up. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But the point is, once you learn to really get that pinpoint vision and be like, this is all I care about, because just now there was something down here, it's whatever, this is all I care about right here, flick, flick it, get a nice area where you just flick the vision over if there's a floater that is bothering you, and then don't let yourself think about it. Just be like, no, think about it like the hair. You've decided to have long hair, and it's just you're flicking it out of your face. Flick it out of my face. Flick it out of my face. I mean, what else are you gonna do? You gonna kill yourself just because you got iFloaters? You're gonna have to learn to deal with it. And I think that I'm stopped now, and I'm looking at the clear sky. I could see how somebody could interpret a lot of the sort of static, not even static, these are floaters, but it's the guy with 100 to 200 floaters in his eye and he can't read on a clear day, he can't read a book outside. It's are you sure you're not just looking at your own eye? That's something, the thing about vision, the thing about vision is that we're dealing with these weird reflecting and comprehend. First of all, the freaking eyes read things upside down. You know what I mean? The lens points it at your retina, and it's technically upside down, and our brain has to flip it. So it's technically our eyes are upside down from what they should be. So there's that. It's these are really weird, complex. I mean, for isn't the blind spot, we have a blind spot, isn't the blind spot where the cord is, where the eye cord is in the retina? There has to be this dead spot in there. There's a spot in the retina that doesn't have rods or cones, because that's where the the connection to the brain cord thing is. It's these are imperfect. Well, they're perfect. I love them. I love my eyes. Top tier sensory organ, I must say. But we've got these fallible, I would say. Yeah, fallible would definitely be the word. Organs that we use to process the world, and if you aren't there, Sorry, I'm getting kind of complex here, so like my little puny brain can't even comprehend what I'm trying to say. But sorry, it's really just because I'm making a left turn and trying to not wreck. I'm being a safe and conscientious driver. Okay. Anyway, people really like mistake their vision for reality. Is the thing, or they take almost like they take their eyes too seriously, as though the eyes are like this. I mean, they are the screen, but it's like you don't have your face like butted up against reality. Reality is like bouncing in and being like messed with in your brain. Is like, I think this is what I see. You know, it's like this imperfect process that is just enough to make you think that you know what's going on around you. And like, if you stare at your own eye, you stare at the phenomenon of your own eye, then it's like you place yourself within your own eye, to where now you're trapped within your eye and you're beholden, or you're like a victim of the phenomena within the eye, whereas the eye is just a means to the end. It's got the rods and cones. Oh, now I'm shaking. Has it been shaking this whole time? No, that might not be the best. This is the first time I've tried out this camera setup. Bouncing around like that might not be the best thing. But on I-64 West is not the smoothest ride. But I'm gonna close up. And the point is, you shouldn't be like a victim of your own eyes. You think of your eyes as just a means to the end. The eyes are telling you something. You say, you're not your eye. You know what I mean? You're not trapped within your eye. Your eye is just like part of you, and it's just giving you a piece of the information about where you're at. I just feel like people maybe like they just take their vision so seriously, and vision is very important. I wouldn't want to be without it. But you'd be surprised at how little vision people can get away with as well, you know? You know what I mean? Like, that's always one of the scariest things to be thinking about, being blind, you know? Oh, God, I can't imagine being blind. It's like, you figure it out, you know what I mean? I really do think that you figure it out. Like, once it's no longer an option, like you close your eyes in your house and try to get around, then it's just like, it's scary, but it's like, first of all, the way I stagger around my own house, you would think I was blind. The way I just be busting my toe on stuff, it's ridiculous. You know, it's like, but once it's like you don't have the option to actually look around, then your ears perk up, your hands learn to feel for the counters and everything, and you figure it out. You know what I mean? You figure it out. So I don't know why I thought it was necessary to say that, but I just genuinely think that like the floater thing doesn't have to be a big deal. Like I said, just think about, just flick them out of your way, and after a while, because like I said, a couple years ago they were really bothering me, and even longer than that they were really bothering me. I mean, I was obsessing over them, you know. And all that does when you obsess over them is make them more powerful. That's how a lot of negative things in our life is. You know, that's how a lot of things are. Is you know, you focus on it, and on this negative thing, and suddenly that thing becomes more powerful. Whereas, like, I remember, it's so funny. I found a prayer list from years ago, many years ago, and my eye was like number 3, and I just remember laughing so hard at that, because it was like, I haven't thought about my silly eye in so long. It's definitely not, like, imagine, like, here's the things I need to pray about. These are the things God, you know, I'm writing them down, I'm making a prayer list, like, this is what I really care about, and my eye was like number 3. It's just so funny to me. It's like, I don't even think to pray about my eye anymore, you know, because it's just not a concern, you know. It's just not, like, it's not a concern. It's nothing, you know. It's as much of a problem as my bruised toenail is, you know, that I got when I was snowboarding with boots that were just slightly too small, just slightly. I got a bruised toenail, you know. It's that much of an annoyance. It's as much of an annoyance as my long hair, you know. Which my long hair is an annoyance, but I mean, who could cut this now? they'll all go away. It's like, no, you're going to have to just like be at peace with them and then not let them have power over you. You know? Just accept that your eyes are imperfect. Learn to flick the floaters out of the way. You know, like a quick little jigga jigga of my eyes, like a quick little jigga jigga, you know, of my eyes, that'll clear up my pinpoint of vision, and that's all I care about. You know, you train your brain to only care about that pinpoint of vision. Don't let your heart rate get up just because don't even think about it. Because if because here's what happens. Once that's all you're looking at, that's all you see. It's genuinely all that you will see. Whereas if you're trying to take in all of this, you're trying to say, okay, I'm not happy with my vision unless I am looking simultaneously at this entire breadth of vision. That's my vision. This big, you know, what was it, like 270 degree vision? Like we have a big, wide range of vision. Like my hand is in, you know, it's like it goes beyond 180 degrees, not 270. That'd be more like looking behind your own head. But you know, we have a wide area of vision. And so if you're analyzing all of that and say, oh, I don't like the way it looks up here, I don't like the way it looks down there, that's what your vision is going to be, and you're setting yourself up to have a higher standard for your own vision, and say to where I only care about this, and said now that's all I see. Honestly, if there's stuff going on around here, I don't see it, because if I focus out on here, all this crap just gets filled in by my brain. You know, my brain's like, okay, your mirror's over here, you got a field over here, some trees over there. But it's like, why would I even be paying attention to all that stuff? My brain's filling in the picture. All I'm doing is looking right ahead, because I'm driving, you know, get that vision right ahead. And that's what, and if I want to look over there, I'm not going to take in the vision over here at that sign. I'm going to look right at it. And if there's anything in my way, flick it out, and I'm looking at it, you know? And that's how I engage with the world. I'm looking directly at it. None of this, and as a result, like something will come up here, but if I focus, it's not that it drops out of sight, it literally fades away. Like it just stops being there, because it's like there really is only this much vision that your eyes are really like able to take in, because once you're focused on that, like I said, all the other crap fades away, you know? There's probably something like philosophical and metaphorical to that I could get into. I don't really know. But that's just, I just hope that this has been like a help to you, because this is coming from somebody that's had big, fat, brown worms of floaters just like right in my eye, just like, and it's just like multiple ones of them. And then if you have them in different eyes, this is the fun part. They'll be kind of thin, or like, they'll be translucent, right? But if you've got one in each eye, it's like in your vision, they combine and become like solid. That's really frustrating. That's a really frustrating thing. Like if you've got some in this eye, some in this eye, and they kind of cross paths in the middle of your vision, kind of like, you know, if you like look at your nose and like through this, it becomes solid. Whereas like you're always seeing your nose, but you're always seeing through it in each eye. Like you're not paying attention to your own nose, but like if you cross your eyes, then it like kind of becomes, it kind of manifests right there in your vision. It's like that's what the floaters would do. It's like, so you get one in this eye, one in this eye, and then they cross paths in your vision, and it's like they solidify. Or that one trick where you take the fingers, I can't do it because I'm driving, but like you put them in front of your face, and then the big sausage finger, like the little sausage finger, like becomes a thing in the middle. You know, because like it's transparent, and then it becomes solid. That's what the floaters would do too. That would be so frustrating. They're just so annoying. But it was only annoying because I'm driving on the way to work. That's when I had a different job where I wasn't a truck driver. Well, I've been driving the whole hour to work, just like obsessing over these things and like flicking them up and studying them, you know? Like, okay, it's like you're mapping them out. Like, okay, I've got one that's like a, you know, it looks like a teepee, and then I've got one that's like got a twirl in it, and I got a couple of these little blotches. It's like, that's what I think about the guy with 100 to 200 floaters. It's like, bro, all you did was map out your eye's imperfections, and now your brain thinks that that's like a threat that it needs to pay attention to. And if you think it's a threat that you need to pay attention to, then it's like something that you kind of have to focus on. And, you know, the roadway in your brain to focus on that becomes bigger. And you've turned it into a threat that you need to be aware of, and you've got this like, I need to go to the doctor, you know, now I need to go where there's a bunch of fluorescent lights and have somebody look into my eye, and now I'm really like telling my body, no, this is something we really need to be focusing on. This has to be dealt with, you know? You know, I feel like aches and pains, you know, you can ignore an ache or a pain away. You know, but if you like really focus on it, you can make your entire existence focus around that ache or pain. I'm not talking about like super serious chronic pain. I mean, I know what it's like to live with pain. I'm a truck driver, so that sciatica is no joke. It'll get you good, but that'll lower your quality of life for sure. But you know, there are certain things where it's like, just quit giving it so much power over you. You know, quit allowing these floaters to lower your quality of life. You're going to I know that there are certain times where I was out with my family, we were out looking at stuff, maybe we were enjoying, you know, nature or something, and the floaters were disrupting them. You know, the floaters were like, it's pretty nice, and this is really a big part of it. It's like, it's a pretty nice view, but it would be better if I didn't have these. And then it's like, well, you know, I can't enjoy this because of that. And it's almost like covetous. It's almost like covetous to be like, I wish I had better eyes. I wish I had your eyes, or I wish I had eyes. If I had, it's like, I have a very unique, it's like you're telling yourself, I have a very unique problem that only I am suffering from and only I have to deal with. And, you know, I can't, I'm not, because of this, I'm not allowed to enjoy nature. I'm not allowed to enjoy a bright blue sky, you know, and that's just, it becomes like almost like a depressive thing, you know? So that's why it's like, that's why I felt like I needed to make a video about it, because there's like, I don't know, there's lots of things like that in our lives where it's like, it becomes this like, we build that pathway in our brain to where now it's an ongoing threat and a problem, and then every time that it pops up and every time that we don't have a solution to it, we allow it to depress us and make us upset. And it lowers our quality of life, increases cortisol. And I mean, who's to say stress doesn't cause them in the first place? You know, it's like there's so many things like that that are like a physiological issue that arise because of psychological problems, or, you know, psychological problems that arise because of physiological, which then create a feedback loop. It's not good, not a good place to be, you know. So I just felt like maybe I'll tell you my story of triumph about, you know, getting rid of floaters. You know, you just need to understand that, like, your body is going to be slowly falling apart. The floaters are just a part of that. And just flick them out of the way and move forward with your life. You know, like, don't, if a floater shows up, it should be calm. If a floater shows up while you're looking at something nice, and it's like trying to divert your attention away from that moment. It's trying to make you not live in the moment, because, and then it's like, you should almost like want to laugh at it, you know? Just like, that's like when I looked at my prayer list, like the floaters, my eye, God, please be with my eye. And it's like, you look back on it, it's like that, it's like that, it's so small now, such a small issue, I wouldn't even think to bring it to God anymore, you know? It's like, I mean, He's gonna protect me and you know, help me, you know. I feel like, you know, by getting saved and having the Holy Spirit dwelling within you, guides you into all truth. So things like this, what I have to say about this, I feel like maybe, you know, I could have been guided by God towards having this understanding. But the point is that like having, so, you know, maybe I don't have to pray about it like as actively, or maybe that was the answer to the prayers, is to understand that, like, you know, because when you pray, that's so funny, it's like when you pray about stuff, you want, it's like, God, please fix my eye. You want to wake up the next day and have just like crystal clear vision, just like you're throwing your eyes everywhere. You don't see a single obstruction. You're just like, you have no obstructions at all. The world is just perfectly clear. It's like HD. You know, that's what you want when you pray for something. But like, sometimes the solution is just like understanding that it's just kind of learning to deal with it. Learning that, like, if I flick them out of my way and then create that pathway in my brain to where instead of being like, floaters, I can't enjoy the moment, instead of just flick, that becomes the pathway to where now, floaters, I can't enjoy the moment. That pathway doesn't even exist in my brain. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to catch me out looking at something pretty with my family, enjoying the day, and feeling any kind of sinking feeling because a floater just popped up. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not going to happen. And that's all we really want anyway. When we were praying for something, we really just want the peace. You know what I mean? And if we just pray for the peace with the things, like, instead of praying, God, please take this pain away. How about this? How about, God, help me live with this pain? Help me to live with even more pain if that happens to happen. You know, God, I've got cancer. Please take it from me. Help me survive. God, help me to, you know, do whatever has to happen with the peace that passes all understanding. You know, that's what we would. That's what we should be praying for, but we're silly, you know. So God gives us what we need, but we pray for the, you know, it is what it is. You know, that's how it's always going to be. We're always going to be like, you know, like I can tell you sometimes I've just been like, just like wringing my hand, just like, God, please protect me and my family. Just like imagining something bad happening to my family, and just like borderline pulling over on the side of the road, eyes clenched, crying, just like, God, please just protect my children and my family. It's like, you know what? Why don't you just pray for the peace to follow you no matter what happens? You know, unspeakable things could happen. God, give me the peace to deal with that. Give me the peace to shine regardless of what happens. You know, it's like, that's what we should pray. But thankfully, it wasn't saying God made the Spirit makes intercession for us to say the things that we can't say, or things that, it's like, we will pray for the specific, like, or almost like carnal thing, and we'll be given what we need anyway. Yeah, this video kind of took a weird turn. Not a weird turn though, because this is all I care about. God's really all I care about, and that's all I really like. I walk with God every day, and that's just part of the journey, you know. So if you're just like, there's so many people out there that like will take an issue like floaters, and they'll just like obsess about it, and they don't have that release valve of prayer. They don't have that. They don't have the knowledge that like God will give them what they need, you know. And if it doesn't look like what they want, maybe they become bitter about that instead of understanding it doesn't always look like what you want it to look like. You know, if it's not, God's not a genie who's going to give you everything that you want, because if he did, then you'd end up like Timmy Turner. Isn't that his name on Fairly Odd Parents, where every wish he asks for, because it's out of the desire of his own heart, it ends up like resulting in some sort of nightmare, you know? And it ends up, well, I wish for that wish to be unwished, you know? Like, that's how it always ends up going, you know? So that's why I'm so thankful to have, you know, God to do the right thing for me, because I don't even know what I want. Yeah, like I said, that's just how it's always going to go. If you ask if I give advice about anything. But anyway, like I said, I feel like there's some practical advice too. But well, anyway, like I said, though, yeah, like a lot of people just get obsessed about it, and they don't have. There's no like path forward outside of what a doctor can give them, and what a doctor can give them. It's like I said, they can maybe drain their eye and fill it with new fluid. But who's to say that's even going to work? What a nightmare! Like, you got these, like, now you have operations ahead of you. Like, that's not a place anybody wants to be. It's like, well, I have an operation in August, and it's like, that sucks, man. Like, I don't want to have operations to look forward to. I mean, it sucks, you know. Just like the medical stuff sucks. You should not want to. It's kind of like getting involved with the police or the government, you know. Like, you want to stay off their radar as much as possible. Once you've spent time in county and you get let back out, like, you're a marked man. Like, the way that the government deals with you from there on out, it's like, it's going to be this escalation until you become a felon, and now you're institutionalized, and now the way they treat you is going to be different, and you're always going to have to deal with them. You're going to have to make calls to officers and parole officers and stuff just to get anything done. Whereas if you just stayed out of trouble, then you'd be totally free. You wouldn't, and that's how I feel about kind of like medical stuff too. Is like you kind of tie yourself down to the medical field the same way. Sometimes, people will obsess and they'll just like basically put themselves at the mercy of these people that, like, when it comes down to the fact of, like, they're not going to tell you this, but some of it is just like, quit obsessing over it. Live your life. Just live your life. Like, joy and laughter. Laughter's the best medicine. I mean, if you spend your time being happy and keeping your, like I said, probably could be some like philosophical or psychological implications or metaphors that can be drawn from what I'm saying, like keeping your vision forward, not letting the peripherals like bother you so much, just keep your vision right there. It's just funny that, like, with the floaters and whatnot, that there's like a literal, physical, practical solution that is actual, like, metaphorical for a lot of problems that we deal with, So I don't know. I kind of didn't expect it to result in this conversation, but that is a thing, And who's to say God didn't let me have floaters and let you have floaters so that we could come to this understanding together, You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know what God's doing. Maybe you don't even know God, and you're like just listening to me out of morbid curiosity, but you don't know if God put you here for a reason. I mean, watching this video for a reason so that you might, come to understand that God is there, and you might seek that out and seek out Christ and figure out, what you need to do in order to be saved and have God dwelling within you. And, it says that he who God foreknew, he did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his Son. I mean, you could be predestinated to be conformed to the image of Jesus Christ. God walking on this earth, predestinate to be in his image and not even know it yet, So anyway, that's just something. There's hope in all of everything. There's always hope. There's infinite hope, because I know when I die, it's not the end. I'm going to go literally be in the presence of God forever, and it's going to never be boring, and it's never going to get old, and it's always going to be amazing, because God is just like God, all power. They're all powerful, almighty, and a creator. So you think about like all the art and music and creations that we get to be in the presence of on earth. Now imagine the source of all of that before you, creating in infinite space with no limitations. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be awesome, So I have that to look forward to. And then I look at people that are just in this box. They're just in this box of like carnality and they're in this carnal box where somebody else is basically playing with them like a puppet. Their only hope is in their like retirement account and maybe getting like 15 years at the end of their life to sit on their boat. It's like that's not, and that's why it becomes like these medical obsessions become so prevalent in their lives. So I don't know. There's a lot. There's always like a spiritual aspect to all this stuff, But especially with vision. Vision is such a delicate and personal thing that, like, I just. It's one of those things where it's like, Doc, I've got floaters, and you sit them down and be like, okay, why are you paying attention to them so much? What's going on? or you got stress at home. You know what I mean? You sit them down and like ask them what's going on. Let's say we got doctors coming in with their clipboards like in Requiem for a Dream, and it's like, yep, looks good. They're out, they don't even look at them. You know, it's like it's like become a meme because they got so many appointments. You know, it's like that's one of the biggest issues with this world right now, especially like the modern world. Is like I like how successful and busy we are. I love being an American and stuff. But that we keep trying to outsource or even like pay for care. You know, we call what the hospital does care. You know, it's like care is for like an open wound, you know. But like we keep having these people that, I need care. And it's like, how do you get care? You know, and it's like, it's kind of like we're not being taught, or it's like not instilled within us how to care for one another. Like they're like, okay, well, I've got 3 hours to sit down and listen to you tell me what's going on with you, and maybe we can, you know, because that kind of like, I've got nowhere else to be, and I'm here for you to listen to as long as this takes. You know, that is often just the solution that people need. It's not that like, oh, well, if you talk about this one specific thing, and we get to this one topic, and we figure that out, and we pick it apart. Like, honestly, just being somebody who's willing to sit there and be a shoulder to cry on, you know, is often what we need in order to move past these things that oppress us. But, like, where do we find that, you know? It can be really tough. You know, and a lot of the people that, like, you know, like churches, for example. You know, I'm a Christian. I go to church. But what I've run into as far as, like, some Christians is you realize they're only listening to you because maybe they think that you might join their church. And they're maybe only sitting there listening to you because, this is my job. And I want to make sure that I'm doing my job well. But it's not necessarily, so you are just a client to them. And yeah, maybe it's for free, but their intention isn't necessarily even to help. It's to maintain their job, because their job is now to be a minister. And, you know, it almost becomes like transactional for them, even if it's not necessarily cost. I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing. I have a hard time trusting people right now, as far as that goes, and trusting that they're really actually like in it for selfless reasons. But either way, all right, getting a little off track here, but anyway, I hope this has been helpful in some way. You know, hey, like, share, subscribe. I don't know. Anyway, that's all I gotta say about that. You know, have a good day, and I guess comment if you need anything.